Hey guys, I wanted to make a video to show you some cool things I've added to my Deere 4044M. It does have a 400E loader. This is a 2022 model. I bought this spring. It was ordered into the dealer by a customer that while they were waiting on the tractor to come in, they ended up changing their mind and decided to buy a skid loader instead. So they had this on the lot. I didn't really have time to wait to order something from the factory. Their dealer network didn't have anything else I was interested in. They had a couple of 4066Rs with power reversers on the lot, and I wasn't interested in that either. I really didn't need the loader to be removable. That didn't bother me. And I just had to have a hydro and didn't feel that I needed the extra horsepower at the time. So, and I'm not too big on excessive bells and whistles, and you might think different after this video is over. So, it already had loaded rear tires. It had the third function installed. I had them add 2 sets of wheel weights. Yes, you see 3 on this side. There's only 1 on the other side because I borrowed one to move it around to run my ditch mower. I also had them put the 4th and 5th SCV on, and a bunch of extra lights, and I had them put the top and tilt kit on it. And then I also saw advertised in the parts catalog the 3-point hitch down pressure kit, which is not supposed to be used at the same time as the top and tilt. If you grind a little bit of clearance on the back side of this ear, so it'll be this part, but on the back side, sorry, I can't get a good angle in there, it will clear the eyelet on the down pressure cylinder. You can see they're pretty snug there. Of course, I got the eye match quick hitch. So basically, ever since the beginning, I thought, man, because I do a lot of grading work with this tractor, so I thought it'd be really nice to be able to control all my 3-point stuff with one joystick. And because I added a swivel seat, and it's on an air ride base, it's a Bostrom, and it's all self-contained. This seat has armrests and whatnot. So when you're swiveled around, your right leg would sit on top of the 3-point height control, and then your 4th and 5th SCVs, of course, were up here. I need to zoom out. That's why we can't see anything. I'm sorry. So you're trying to reach here, and you're trying to reach down, and everything else. So it took a lot of scheming and dreaming for me to figure out how I wanted to do it, and I've had it done for about a week or so now, and it works awesome, and it's an absolute joy to operate. I did not drill a single hole in anything other than a couple plastic pieces on the tractor. 0 holes were drilled in the steel. It was essentially a no-drill installation. So I made this bracket here for my extra remotes, so those now run my top and tilt kit, and tied into the Power Beyond port of the factory 4th and 5th SCV, and ran them to this joystick. I made this bracket here. It's just a piece of steel plate, and it bolts into existing holes. And so that one line coming off of those SCVs comes down and feeds this valve, and then you have your Power Beyond here that goes back down to the transmission, and the return line that comes back down the transmission. So I had to cut a pocket in this plastic snap-in panel, and then behind here I have a fuse and relay block that helps run everything as well. So we have our 3-point down pressure, our continuous flow for the 5th SCV, and continuous flow for the 3rd function. And I had to move the PTO switch from here to here, and there's a reason for that. It won't fit under here anymore because there's now a speed control box here for the 3-point lift height. So this is a Chief loader valve with detent float, and so This runs the top link, and this runs the side link. And you can, I like to be able to detent float the top link previously off of the 4th SCV. Certain implements work better if you can float the top link. It's kind of hard to explain unless you're using them. The land plane is a really good example of that. I like to float the land plane, and then when I'm just trying to really do some really light dressing up work, and I'm not trying to cut hard at all, I just want to slick something off a little bit and smooth it over a little bit. I'll float the top link and then adjust the height with the draft control. That's a good example. Another one would be the bush hog. And that's just because it's not really quick hitch compatible, but I make it work on a quick hitch. But by doing so, the top link of the quick hitch is in here, and then I put a pin in it, and it no longer can freely float in that slot. So if I put my top link in float detent, it can float up and down as needed, just like it should have been able to. So a couple times that's handy. And my 5th SCV handle is, I took it out because it was a real long one. I'm just going to have to make a shorter one. So what this, oh, you're still trying to figure out how the 3-point goes up and down. I only showed you left, right, forward, and back, didn't I? So this is the handle grip is from Deere, and it has the same buttons that my 3rd function has on the loader valve. And so those buttons control my 3-point up and down, which is what this knob is for. This knob adjusts the speed of how fast it controls the 3-point up and down. I'm not good enough at making videos to be able to show you the video that I made when I was installing it, and you can't see it at all from here, but I used a high-speed industrial fully weatherproof electric linear actuator to control the valve for the 3-point height. As you can see, this is a pretty clean installation, I think, anyway. And when you're sitting on the seat and you're swiveled sideways, everything clears fine, even with the up and down of suspension. And you can still see behind you just fine. So, now personally I sit like this when I run it, with my leg against that fender, and I use my left foot for the pedals. So this is in a good position to control everything. So these buttons control relays that control the actuator to raise and lower the 3-point, and I adjust the speed of it with this knob. So all the way up is as fast as it could go before, because I got a fast actuator, or I can turn it way down and I can just give a button a slight tap and change the height with like about a ½ inch increments or so, maybe. So you got a lot of finesse available should you want it or need it. I added a couple of switches here for stuff on the canopy. Buddy gave me an electric radiator fan out of a car. It's a fantastic relief. The other switch is for some LED strobe lights I put on it. There's some on the back. I don't know if you got to see them there. And then this is a momentary switch that changes the pattern of the strobe lights. So I'm going to start this up and show you how this works. I call it I've kind of dubbed it the TICS, Total Implement Control System. Works really great. I love it. it down a little bit. I'll show you that precision control. And then have a top link in, top link out, or float. Side tilt. As you can see, it doesn't take very much to see over those rear remotes, or those additional remotes. And I put regular Pioneer couplers on them as well, so that if I had a particular implement that needed remotes and I really wanted them tied into the joystick, then I could just unplug my top and tilt and move them over here and run the implement off of this if that was something I wanted to do. I just wanted to keep my options open. So that's the TICS. And I would not want to own a tractor that didn't have all of these options anymore. It really makes it a whole different machine. No, I don't have the right brackets for the canopy. That's another project for another day. However, my harnesses they do have connectors up there, so I can unplug it if I need to take the canopy off for some reason. So I bought this tractor this spring, and I've already got about 220 hours on it. And I absolutely love it. And like I said, I really wouldn't change much about it other than I think if they come out with a 4075R HD, I think I would like to buy one of those next time around. But unless they combine the 4075R and the HD, I think I'll just stick with what I've got for now. But I definitely would have to be able to take the TICS with me. You're not supposed to be able to have down pressure on the M model. I had to make a bit of harness for that to work, and that's pretty nice to have most of the time. So I guess we could talk about implements. Mine came with a bucket. This is a standard bucket. I don't expect it's going to last me forever. I bought the forks, the root rake grapple, which I really like. I bought the Frontier 73-inch counter-rotating tine tiller. Highly recommend counter-rotating. I bought the 6-foot box blade, 7-foot land plane, fully adjustable, reversible cutting edges. The grater blade I picked up used. It's a 7-foot. I think, at least with the down pressure and the weight of my tractor, I'm going to end up folding it in half one day if I don't beef it up first, but we'll see. The aerator, a neighbor loaned me to try out, but I don't think the ground is ever going to be soft enough here for the aerator to work properly without me feeling like it's too wet for the weight of my tractor on the lawn. And then I ordered this pulverizer back in the spring, and it just showed up the other day. I haven't even got to use it yet. It does have the optional dual rollers, and it has 2 rows of scarifiers. The landscape rake is hands down one of the most versatile, inexpensive implements anybody could have. I think everybody should have one. The more you use it, the more uses you find for it. It works on small crushed stone. It works on cleaning stuff out of the yard, sticks, stone. You can use it to loosen and smooth over dirt. The uses for that thing are just endless. Really nice cleaning up brush and sticks out of a field if you drop a tree in a field and then you want to get it cleaned up afterward. Fantastic thing. I bought this. This one's unique. It's a 5-foot sod cutter, and it was category 2, and I made it Cat 1 quick hitch compatible. Not so much that I want to cut sod out to use the sod, but to get the sod out of the equation so that later I don't have a bunch of clumps of grass in my topsoil when I spread it out and grade it. Now, that said, I usually do use the tiller, almost always use the tiller, to pulverize the topsoil before I even dig it out, and then that way when it's in a pile it's already nice and loose and fluffy. And it just makes everything a lot easier on the loader of the tractor. It makes it faster. You get a more consistent depth in the area you're removing topsoil from. But I thought this would be good to just get the sod out of the equation altogether, because even with it being pulverized, it's more difficult to spread out with the clumps of grass interfering. So haven't really got to use this much. I do want to replace those 2 little gauge wheels with a full width roller. I think that'll work better. And I plan to put a couple of culture discs in there that can be retracted to not use them, or you can extend them down and make 3 20-inch wide slices of turf if you want to reuse it. That way you can actually handle them by hand. And I've got a 7-foot pulverizing cultipacker that I need to convert to quick hitch compatible. Super frustrating having to take the quick hitch off to hook up an implement. This old bush hog is just a beater I use in the woods to maintain the trails and stuff. And I'll use it for some mowing. It's just seen better days. It's a good rough one to tear up that was cheap one. And one of my favorite implements is right here. This is a Woods S105-3 ditch bank mower. And these are kind of unique. They're a lot lighter weight than a hydraulic one. The hydraulic ones tend to be able to extend the deck out this way, which is great for more reach. And then their counterweight will go the other direction to help balance the tractor. But they're very heavy. And this one's not light on a 4 Series at all. It's still very heavy, but it's something that's manageable if you are a very careful operator and add some extra ballast here and there. And this was category 2 as well. I converted to Cat 1 quick hitch. And this particular one I thought was 540 PTO, and it turned out it was small 1000. It came with just this half of the drive shaft, and we came up with another half that matches, that slides onto that one, that's got a regular 540 end on it. And it works just fine, even though the maximum RPM I can give it is 570 on my PTO. It still cuts really nice. So it needs one remote, so I use my 4th SCV for that now. And it's still nice to be able to control the top and tilt to get this angled right for the conditions you're running. It does have a gauge wheel there that's spring loaded and will help support the weight of the unit and kind of help balance the tractor. That actually sticks out a little bit past your back tractor tire, just a little. I can run it with that off the ground and it doesn't feel tipsy. But if you're mowing along a pond bank or something where you might find a random hole your back tire will dip into, you definitely want that wheel on the ground to help you out a little. Kind of like a training wheel. So, and you can put that, when you put that cylinder and float, this deck can ride on its own gauge wheels, which really helps take a lot of weight off the tractor as well. That said, even though it's heavy, and the tractor handles it all right, this is also sticking a long way out. When you're out here, you're 7 foot away from the outside of the back tire of the tractor. This is a 5-foot cut. And if you grab a sapling or a heavy shrub or a stump or big briar patch or something, the leverage of this out here wants to swing the front end of the tractor over. So you got to be really careful when you run this. You really pay attention and go slow. Or, you know, especially when you're up against a ditch or a pond bank or something, you know, you don't want to spin the front of the tractor around and find yourself in a pickle you can't quite get out of. So it definitely takes a lot of, gotta be paying a lot of attention to run that one. But it's a fantastic unit that really cuts down on a lot of hassle. And one of my another favorite attachment I don't have here is just a receiver hitch for the 3-point quick hitch. Super handy moving trailers around. I run a landscaping business, and well, frankly, we do all kinds of stuff. So I've got lots of trailers to move around, a firewood processor to move around. It's nice to just be able to back up and hook onto them with the tractor and just spin them around where I want them, and not have to mess with getting out the truck and everything else. So I think that's enough rambling, but just a super good setup for me. And I'm not really too much the type to go and patent something and try to put it on market, but I definitely think there could definitely be a market for the TICS. I think the guys that, at least the guys that use these for commercial use, I think would love to have something like that. Especially if you have a swivel seat, I think that just changes everything. Being able to turn around and see exactly what's going on without straining your neck and shoulders all day makes a big difference when you do it day in and day out. So, but being able to just grab that joystick and just intuitively just twist your wrist or touch a button to adjust the whole back end of the tractor is it's a real game changer. So thanks for watching.